Hey everyone, it's Ro with Ro's Wigglers. I wanted to run you through, I've been getting a lot of questions about making bedding lately, and to be clear, I'm no expert on bedding. I've tried a lot of different things, but right now I'm mixing up a big batch of what's called pre-compost. You can use this same method just to make your bedding. I just learned from Jayne over at Rockin' Worms that pre-compost is just really a great way to get your worms cranking a lot faster. So I'm making a big batch, but this is also a method you can do to make your bedding. You just want to let it sit for a little while and make sure it doesn't heat up too much before you put the worms in. So here's what I've got for my bedding today. And my worms are really seeming to love this new mixture. Like I said, I've tried all different kinds of things. This is what we're doing today. So, the first thing I have is a 5-gallon bucket of leaf mulch. I got this from St. Louis Composting. In the fall, I will absolutely be collecting as many free leaves as I can, but this gave me a nice big jump start. I took my old pickup truck and got 2 cubic yards for less than 50 bucks, so that'll last me a while. So 5 gallons of leaf mulch. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. The worms absolutely love leaf mulch. What I have found is this is one of their favorite things. I don't know, they just really love it. I use shredded cardboard, but I have a lot of worms and it is really hard for me to make enough shredded cardboard. So I've started using my shredded cardboard as my indicator for my feeding zones. So it's still being used, but I don't need to try to shred quite so much because I just can't keep up. So here is our 5 gallons of leaf mulch. Then I just started this new collaboration, very excited. These are spent coffee grounds from Kuva Coffee here in St. Louis. We vend at the same farmer's market, Tower Grove Farmer's Market, and it just occurred to me a couple weeks ago, now that we're almost halfway through the season, oh, let me go around and find the coffee roasters at the market and see if they will save their grounds for me so I could just easily grab them and take them at the end of the market. Kuva happily agreed. They were really excited about it. So now we have an ongoing collaboration. Very excited about that. Every week at the farmer's market, I bring them a 5-gallon bucket, and then at the end, I pick up the lovely, lovely coffee grounds, which my worms love. We're working together. We are diverting things from the landfill. People are enjoying their coffee. My worms are enjoying the rest. So it's a win-win-win. So what I'm going to add into this bin is 1 scoop, this size scoop, it's about a half a gallon, I think, of coffee grounds. I did a heaping. There's also a bunch of filters in here. Filters are totally fine. The worms will eat that too. So I'm going to throw this all in, tear up the filters a little bit just so they break down a little faster. Tear this all up. Okay, that's okay. Then I have just a cup of alfalfa meal. This alfalfa meal is also really going to help this heat up. Now, if you are not doing pre-compost, if you're just trying to prep your bedding, I would probably do a little less coffee grounds and skip the alfalfa meal because this is definitely going to heat up, but that's what I'm going for. If you just want bedding, I would just do a couple cups of coffee grounds in here and not the rest, and not the alfalfa meal. The reason I add alfalfa meal is 1, it's going to heat up the bin. 2, it's going to be great nutrients for my worms. They're going to absolutely love it. But the most important benefit, and the reason that I do this, is that alfalfa meal has great nutrients for your plants, but it also has one specific unique characteristic where it has a growth hormone that starts with a T. I can't remember what the name of the hormone is, but this is one of the only organic fertilizers that has this that I know of. And so by me putting this in my worm bedding, letting the worms consume it, letting it pass through the worms, this is going to be in my castings and it's going to be already bioavailable to the plants for my customers. So it's going to be really a win-win when they're utilizing my castings in their gardens and their houseplants. Or my tea. The nutrients will be in the tea as well. Sprinkle that in there. And then this is my last ingredient. This is actually a combination. You don't have to do this. This is glacial rock dust, and it actually has a bunch of oyster shell flour mixed into it. So a lot of times I've typically used ground blended eggshell as my grit for my worms. It provides calcium, it provides a pH buffer. The worms need grit in order to be able to digest their food. But much like the cardboard, I have more worms than I have eggshells to keep up with. So I started buying oyster shell flour, which is a fantastic product and does the same thing. And then I mix it with the glacial rock dust. I use a few different kinds of mineral rock dust. And this is going to re-mineralize, add minerals into the worm bin, which will then be in the castings, which will then feed the plants more minerals later. And it also provides grit for the worms. So it's a win-win-win. So I'm gonna take this and add a cup of this in there too. Maybe a little less than a cup. About half a cup. I don't measure much, sorry everybody. I just kind of do what feels good to me. We just want to make sure we've got grit and a pH buffer in here. And then I'm always adding more grit every time I feed the worms, so we're not going to be at a shortage. Then, just going to mix it up. Mix, mix, mix. The thing everybody loves to watch on YouTube. Just me doing something weird. That's okay. Alright, we've got that pretty well mixed up now. Got all the stuff and incorporated all through there. So that when I take this pre-compost ready, it's going to be ready to go. I can put it in my bins. I can add my worms. And we're off to the races. This is going to save me a lot of time later, even though it's taking a long time to make a big batch of pre-compost now. I know it's going to be worth it for me later. Last thing I'm going to do to this is just add water. Now, you see, I'm using water from a hose, but an important thing to note is I have a Boogie Blue filter on this hose. So this is filtering out the chlorine and chloramine for me from my city water. If you don't have a Boogie Blue filter, I highly recommend either using rainwater or dechlorinating your water by letting it evaporate for at least 24 hours. That'll remove the chlorine, because that chlorine kills the microbes that we are trying to grow in our worm bin. So, dechlorinated water for the win. Boogie Blue filter makes that go a lot faster. I'm just gonna get this wet. It's going to be able to soak up a pretty good amount of water. One more mix for good measure. Just make sure we're getting that moisture all throughout. I don't really want any dry spots, because this is going to help me really get this pre-compost going much faster. Thanks for the help learning how to do this, Jayne from Rockin' Worms. I kind of took your recipe and put my own spin on it, because that's what I like to do, but I want to give you credit where credit is due. I've learned so much from you in my worming experience, and it's been such a great help. So thank you again for everything that you've done to help me in my worming journey. You're an amazing educator and an amazing wormer. All right. Moisture's mixed in. This is all good to go. So the last step I got to do, I'm not going to get this on camera because there's no way I can carry this phone and this bin outside in the massive heat at the same time anyway. But outside I have 2 of those big rolly cart trash cans that people put at the end of their driveway. They've got holes drilled all through them, and that's what I'm using to create my pre-compost. So I'm going to do this probably about 50 more times, fill up those bins, and then I'll be good to go on worm bedding for a little while after this cooks and then cools down. I'll be using a compost thermometer. I'll check it and watch for it to heat up nice and hot, and then I'll watch for it to cool down. I'll try to get it to go through another heat cycle by turning it, wait for it to cool down, then it should be ready to go. Yeah, so that's my latest and greatest on bedding. Talk to me about bedding anytime. If you have questions about what you're using for your bedding, please contact me. If you've gotten worms or a worm bin from me, I've had plenty of people ask me about bedding, so much so that I'm considering having it as a sale item. If you're local and you think that that would be beneficial, let me know. And other than that, remember, until next time, healthy soil, healthy plants, happy worms. Take care.